What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at McFarlane's DC Multiverse Cyborg Superman. So let's see what we've got going on. Let's check it out. As promised, today we'll be taking a look at Cyborg Superman. So let's see what we've got going on. Taking a look at the package, standard fare for DC Multiverse. You've got your stand, you've got your card, some extra hands, and your figure. Logo at the bottom, Cyborg Superman. 22 moving parts, you'll see at the top, logo there as well. Flip it to the side, Cyborg Superman, Revenge of the Green Lanterns. Flip it to the back, there's a great image there. That Hank, he's looking cool. Always been a personal favorite of mine. Very 90s aesthetic, right? So I do like it. Important information at the bottom. Flip it to this side. DC Multiverse, Cyborg Superman, QR code down there. Let's get him out of the box. Fresh out of the package, this figure delivers. When it was announced, we saw those promo images. I already knew this was going to be a good looking figure, and it does not disappoint. Taking a look at it, seeing the aesthetic here, the sculpting in this figure alone is pretty impressive from the line it's coming from, right? We've come a long way, and as I said in the Silver Age Superman, on the way out, we're getting some pretty damn good figures. So I like what I'm seeing here. Of course, not only do we get the figure, but you do get your companion card, which does match the box art there. You've got your blurb on the back, you get your stand, and you do have your set of hands there. It's a good looking figure, so let's take a closer look. Moving in closer, we can get a good look at the detail here. As I said, you can see a lot of nicely sculpted detail has gone into this figure. They've even added some tear in the costume up here, which it's a nice, simple but nice little touch, right? They've modified the leg down here, although that does only give you a single point. So these knees don't have a double joint down there. You can see right through that hole there, which is cool. It looks nice. It's, it looks right on point. Excellent detail in here. I like the way the silver came out. You could see, like on mine, there's a few blotchy areas. That blue is bleeding through a little bit there, and in the knee down here as well. But very minor. I don't think it takes away much for me personally. It's still a very cool looking action figure. You've got the S sculpted in there. Again, nice detail through that head sculpt. You can see the half that is not completely exposed. Does get some good hair in there. A little bit of blue highlight in there. Not a whole lot. But then that cyborg side, that really comes through. Looks nice. You've got that eye sort of beaming in there. Maybe would have liked a little bit of additional color, maybe a little bit more red in tone, but I like how they got this sort of red and yellow mix in there. Kind of makes it have a little bit of life, which adds a little bit of eeriness to the figure, so I'll take it. Not much additional paint work on there, but the sculpting does come out quite nice. For your articulation, the head will look down to there, chin touching the base of the neck. Head goes up and back to there. So I like that. You get good range backward. I certainly appreciate that. Some good moves side to side, a little bit of rock in there. And of course, you can make your head all the way around. Arms do work all the way around as well. You've got that modified butterfly in there. Does give you a little bit of the exposure, and I can point out here some sort of dings and dents in the plastic from the air bubbles. You get that down here as well at the elbow. Arm does go up to about there, and then you do have that upper bicep cut as well. Double jointed at the elbow, and you can see here they've got some cyborg detailing that wasn't painted on the back of the arm, so a little bit interesting there. I don't know why you go through the trouble of including it in the mold and then not painting it, but there we are. Ball hinge at the wrist, and you get all kinds of good movement there. It doesn't look too egregious. depending on the angle. Upper and lower torso points there, so nice, good amount of range for your figure. Diaper doesn't work in any weird way, so it does look pretty good on this one. Leg kicks up to about there, back to there, and then you get the exposure at the front. Up and out to about there, but it doesn't hold in place. No thigh cuts as we're used to. It looked like there might be on this one. As I said, single jointed on this knee, as they did make the modification to include the whole piece on the thigh. Nothing at your boot. Hinge and swivel at the ankle. Hinge at the toe. For this leg, double jointed pinned at the knee. Still nothing at the boot. And then hinge, swivel, toe articulation as well. For your Cyborg arm, you are double jointed on pins at the elbow. However, it works in this case, right? You make the argument that the pins actually make a lot more sense there. Arm does go up to about there. Upper bicep cut as well. And then your standard ball hinge at the wrist. Soft goods cape, it does have a wire, so you can manipulate that however you'd like. For your first set of hands, you do get an open regular humanoid hand and then a cyborg fist. For your second set of hands, you get a human fist, and your cyborg is a pointer finger, which I like. That's going to be probably what I use for the display. For comparison, here he is backed up against McFarlane's new 52 Cyborg Superman, so I'm certainly pleased that we have this classic Cyborg Superman now. The new 52 one is cool in its own regard. It held its place, but I much prefer this classic 90s version of Cyborg Superman. And then you can really see the difference here too. The new 52 is on a different body, comes in much taller, and it does have a lot of different aesthetic going on for it. And here he is backed up against Mattel's DC-UC version of Cyborg Superman, just to give you an idea of where we are with scale, right? So the Mattel ones coming in closer to that 1/12 scale. McFarlane going way above that into the 7-inch scale. Really highlights the difference between these two lines. Here he is backed up against our Mafex Cyborg Superman. Now, obviously, you can't really compare a Mafex figure to a McFarlane figure. There is no comparison. These are different scales, different qualities. There's not a lot to match up, right? So I guess where I'm going with this is just to show you size and scale. Additionally, highlight some things that maybe could have been included for this Cyborg Superman from McFarlane Toys. Now, if we could have received any type of arm cannon, that would have been fantastic. I think a nice touch, and people would have really appreciated that, but that may be wishful thinking. Additionally, the S on the back of the cape, but look, it seems like most of the time they ignore that feature on Superman figures, so just relegated myself to understanding that at this point. And finally, here he is compared to our DC Essentials Cyborg Superman. Now, this aesthetically has been probably my favorite Cyborg Superman in my collection for the longest time. I just prefer the scale of that figure versus all of the others. It's a little bit bigger than 112. We're at about a 1/10 scale on that figure. I think the overall design just comes out much nicer in action figure form. The problem with that one is it's got the weakest ankles of any figure I own in my collection, but that's not what we're talking about. Just comparatively speaking, though, it just shows you how big this McFarlane Cyborg Superman is, but also shows you how nicely done and well executed this McFarlane Cyborg Superman is. It's a nice looking figure. Alright folks, well there you have it. There is your McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Revenge of the Green Lanterns Cyborg Superman. Good old Hank in action figure form from McFarlane in this classic aesthetic. So I am personally happy that we have now received this version of Superman. I believe on Collecting Justified we went over our wish lists for what we might want to see coming from McFarlane as he winds down this DC license. And this was on my list. It's a representation of a character that, for me, I needed in this McFarlane universe, right? I collect the Revenge of the Superman, Reign of the Superman, Return of Superman stuff in pretty much any line I can get my hands on. So to add this to that world on my display makes me happy as a collector. So I'm here for it. And on top of that, it's a nice looking figure, right? A lot of great aesthetic here, some really nice sculpting work, some great colorway as well. Nice bright blue, nice bright red to complement. So could it have used a few extra things? Absolutely. I would have loved to have seen some arm cannon action. That would have been cool in this scale with this figure. But ultimately, I'm okay with the options we got. It seems like this one might be a little bit harder to come by. It seemed to have sold out almost everywhere it was available until, I kept checking and refreshing, finally landing on getting a pre-order in. So if you are looking for this one, I do wish you luck in your journey, in your hunt. But for my money, it's worth the pickup. Cool figure. That's the 2 cents, folks. Appreciate you listening to me talk about it. Of course, you can always find me on any of these socials down here. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe below. And until next time, take it easy.